Bored at home? Head over to Chumba Casino and join some serious social casino fun. With hundreds of games at your fingertips, no purchase necessary. You can play anytime, anywhere. There's a special welcome bonus waiting for you when you sign up. Play for fun, play for free, and you can even redeem some great prizes. Visit ChumbaCasino.com and get ready to reel in the fun. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
If you're not subscribed so you can listen ad-free, what are you waiting for? Subscribe on Apple or Patreon so that you can listen ad-free and get access to our subscription-only journal entry episodes. Thanks so much to those of you who are already subscribed. Your support keeps the Murder Diaries running. Welcome back to the Murder Diaries. I'm Paige.
And I'm Natalie.
At 21 years old, Beth Buege's life was just beginning. A Milwaukee native, friends and family described her as beautiful, both inside and out. On the morning of June 3rd, 1990, a man tapped on the door of an unfamiliar car parked outside his Milwaukee home. He could see a woman in the passenger seat slumped over. When he opened the door, he realized that she was deceased and called the police. Investigators identified her as Beth Buege. More than 30 years later, her killer has never been caught. Sadly, both her parents have now passed away, but her brother still seeks justice for his baby sister. This is her story.
Used to think it's in my head, but I'm walking with the dead.
Beth Eileen Buege was born May 16, 1969 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Nestled on the western shores of Lake Michigan, Milwaukee is a city of about 600,000, best known for its beer, bratwurst, and cheese. Beth was adopted when she was just a 5-week-old infant by Bonnie and Robert Buege. Beth grew up with her brother Bruce, who was 3 years older. The two siblings were particularly close. By all accounts, the Bueges were a tight-knit, happy Midwestern family. Even from an early age, Beth knew she was adopted, but made it clear she felt no need to one day try and track down her birth family. She told her mom, "You're the only mom I've ever had." Bruce said everyone loved her. She was kind, giving. She was a beautiful person. Beth was a student at Thoreau Elementary School and Webster Middle School before graduating from Vincent High School in 1987. In high school, she was a member of the gymnastics team, which actually went on to win the state division championship. After graduating high school, she worked for 2 years at Rogers & Holland's Jewelers in the Northridge Mall. She then became a cocktail waitress at Club Maryland in downtown Milwaukee. She moved on later to work at the Tijuana Yacht Club near Northridge. At the time of her murder, she was working as a sales clerk at Fox Jewelers at Brookfield Square. Paula, a former co-worker of Beth's at Rogers & Holland, said in a 1990 newspaper interview that Beth was a loving person who always looked for the good in people, sometimes trusting them too easily. Her sister-in-law, Dawn, said Beth was bubbly and bright. She had a great smile, beautiful smile. I honestly don't remember seeing her sad. Beth took some time to travel around a bit, but ultimately returned to Milwaukee for her brother's wedding to Dawn in April of 1990. Her family and a new job at Fox's jewelry store brought her back. She loved her job there. She was good at it too, and hoped to be promoted to manager in the near future. Beth was also a bit of an aspiring model. The photographer at her brother's wedding told her how beautiful she was and that she should pursue a modeling career. The photographer even took photos of her for a portfolio. 2 days before she was murdered, as they parted ways after hanging out, Beth told her brother Bruce, "I love you, bro." He replied, "I love you, sis." That was the last time they would ever speak.
Just before 8:30 a.m. on June 3rd, 1990, a man noticed an unfamiliar car parked on the street in front of his house in the 4900 block of North 49th Street in Milwaukee. Now, that same car had been seen several hours before. It was parked outside of what was then Jake's restaurant in Wauwatosa. That's where Beth's boyfriend lived upstairs with his mother.
The man walked up to the red car and saw that there was a woman in the passenger seat, but she was slumped over towards the driver's side of the car. It never occurred to him that she could be deceased. He just assumed that she had passed out from drinking or was unconscious. He knocked on the passenger side window, but no response. He then opened the door, which was unlocked. The woman, who wore a white t-shirt, cut-off shorts, and a belt, was not breathing and did not have a pulse. The man quickly closed the door and called 911. First responders quickly arrived on scene and attempted to revive Beth, but she was sadly declared dead at the scene. Police immediately noticed she had bruises and abrasions on both sides of her neck, which led them to believe that she had been strangled. Police immediately treated the case as a homicide. Her brother Bruce said there should be no reason why her car would be where it was found. She didn't know anybody there. Officers checked her purse that was sitting in the front seat. Her driver's license told them right away that she was 21-year-old Beth Buege. The registration of the vehicle, a 1985 red Mercury Laser, told them the car belonged to her. Her purse had not been rummaged through, and there was no cash missing from her wallet or anything like that. This made detectives rule out robbery as a possible motive. The floor of her car was strewn with packs of cigarettes and clothes. Investigators believed that Beth died somewhere else, but that her body was then left in the car and driven to where it had been found. There was no blood or signs of a struggle. Her seatbelt wasn't fastened, and the murder did not appear sexually motivated. She was still fully clothed, and her belt was buckled. Investigators had her Mercury Laser towed to the police impound lot to be processed for any possible physical evidence or fingerprints. Her body was sent to the medical examiner's office so that a time of death and a cause of death could be determined. Her autopsy was conducted by the deputy chief medical examiner. That medical examiner concluded that Beth was murdered by manual asphyxiation or strangulation. The examiner also found bruising on her left jaw and both sides of her neck. Detective Kathy Spano said that there were small oval-shaped marks that looked very similar to fingernail impressions.
The autopsy report concluded that Beth would have passed out within about 10 minutes and then died within 3 minutes, although there were indications that she fought back against her assailant. The medical examiner also concluded that rigor mortis hadn't set in yet when she was discovered, and therefore, they concluded that she hadn't been dead for very long, estimated to be no more than 4 hours. This episode of the Murder Diaries is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas. Wild Grain's boxes are fully customizable to your taste and dietary restrictions. In addition to their classic variety box, they recently launched a new gluten-free box and a plant-based box that is 100% vegan. Best of all, they take the hassle out of baking since all items bake from frozen in 25 minutes or less. Plus, there's no mess or cleanup. I recently received a Wild Grain box and I was truly impressed by the selection and quality of the items. The freshness was incredible. My husband is a total foodie and he couldn't stop talking about it. He's actually really impressed. The chocolate chip cookies were a hit. He baked them fresh. The baguettes made the perfect sandwich base. And the pasta was absolutely delicious when he whipped up a quick aglio e olio, or like I like to call it, garlic pasta. The convenience of delivery is a game changer too. It arrived right at our doorstep and everything was ready to use, whether for baking or cooking, within minutes. The best part, the baking time for fresh items like the cookies or baguettes was under 25 minutes, making it easy to enjoy gourmet quality meals without the fuss. If you're looking to make your weekly meals easier and elevate the taste and variety of what you serve, Wild Grain is perfect. With their high-quality, ready-to-use products, you can easily create restaurant-quality dishes at home without sacrificing time or effort. Whether you're making a sandwich, preparing a savory pasta dish, or enjoying a sweet treat, Wild Grain makes it simple to enjoy gourmet meals every day. Are you ready to bring all your favorite carbs right to your doorstep? Be sure to check out Wild Grain so you can begin building your own box of artisanal breads, pastas, and pastries. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off their first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/diaries to start your subscription. You heard me right. Free croissants in every box. And $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/diaries. That's wildgrain.com/diaries, DIARIES. Or you can use promo code DIARIES at checkout.
Let Weight Loss Through Hers give you something to be excited about for 2025. You can spend the new year in control of your weight by losing up to an average of 9 pounds in your first month. Yes, those numbers are based on data by real Hers customers that have reported based on their personalized, compounded GLP-1 treatment plans. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans delivered straight to your door if prescribed. Hers also offers a holistic weight loss program with personalized solutions, including compounded GLP-1 weekly injections, which feature the same active ingredients as Ozempic and Wegovy, or other oral medication kits. After submitting an online intake form, a licensed medical provider will determine what plan is best for you. If prescribed, your program includes medication, ongoing care, and online support, all at one low cost. With that, weight loss plans are more affordable through hers, with compound GLP-1 injections starting at $165 a month with a 12-month plan paid upfront for new subscribers, no hidden fees, and no membership fees. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through hers. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/diaries. That's forhers.com/diaries for your personalized weight loss treatment options. forhers.com/diaries. Hers weight loss is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions apply. Wegovy and Ozempic are not compounded. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
One of the not so secret secrets of celebrities and influencers is that so many of them have had lipo. I'm thinking of one right now that I was just listening to on a podcast talk about their experience getting lipo, and they documented it on reality TV. Look, no one has the perfect body, but lipo has changed, and Sono Bello has been at the forefront with using LAL technology and getting these beautiful natural outcomes for each person. Sono Bello is offering you, our listeners, their best deal. You're now included in being able to access their New Year's savings event, but appointments are limited. Sono Bello doctors are masters in microfat laser removal, a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently. Wherever your problem areas are, that fat is gone in one comfortable visit. Eating healthy and workouts are important. Keep doing that. But if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sono Bello. Remember, you can access their New Year's savings event by scheduling your free consultation now at sonobello.com/diaries. That's Sono, BELLO.com/diaries.
Okay, we all know how this goes. New Year's resolutions, right? Every year we make grand plans to be better versions of ourselves, work out more, eat healthier, read more books. But then comes the reality. You know, dragging yourself out of bed at 6 a.m. when it's still pitch black outside, only to hit snooze 5, maybe 8 more times. Trust me, I've been there. But you know what's different? The resolutions that stick are the ones that are automatic, like investing with Acorns. Today's episode is sponsored by Acorns. Acorns rounds up your everyday purchases to the nearest dollar and invests that change for you effortlessly. It's like setting yourself up for success without the effort. That's what Acorns does for your financial future. It's one small change that makes a difference. Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing so your money has a chance to grow for you, your kids, and your retirement. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. It lets you invest automatically by rounding up your everyday purchases and putting that change to work. It's a simple way to keep building toward your financial goals without extra effort. And for me, it's been a great addition to my routine, and it might be worth checking out if you're looking for an easy way to get started. Head to acorns.com/diaries or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/diaries.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Due to the up-close and personal nature of the death, manual strangulation, police believed that her murder was a crime of passion. Detective Spano said, quote, "She knew the killer," end quote. A female witness who had been awake caring for her newborn baby had come forward to tell investigators that she saw Beth's car about an hour before the police were called, around 6:30 a.m. She noticed that the car was jerking as it drove down the road. The driver was clearly having trouble operating the vehicle. Now, this makes sense because Beth's car was a stick shift, so it's possible the driver didn't know how to drive a manual transmission very well, if at all. Detective Deceive said whoever was driving it obviously didn't know how to use a stick shift. Deceive, who, with the blessing of Milwaukee police investigators, worked Beth's case unofficially until he retired in 2003. Detective Spano also brings up a really great point. She believes that the driver may have had trouble driving the car if Beth's body was slumped towards the driver's side, as it was when she was later found. And again, I think this makes sense because that could have caused this driver issues when they're trying to access and use the gear shift. The female witness we were talking about just a moment ago described the driver of Beth's car as a white man with brown hair who wore glasses. Police speculate that the driver likely left on foot after leaving Beth's body and car behind. Investigators contacted all of the cab companies or bus lines in the area to see if anyone had picked anyone up matching this man's description, but no luck. No witnesses they spoke to reported seeing him being picked up by another vehicle either. On top of that, Detective Jeremiah Jacks with the Milwaukee Police Department said no fingerprints were recovered that helped in this investigation. Police were now forced with the sad task of informing Beth's family that she would never be coming home again. They rang the doorbell at the Buege's house to deliver this tragic news. Bruce said, "I heard the doorbell ring and figured it was Beth, but when I came downstairs, my father was crying and Beth was dead." Bruce remembers being stunned in disbelief until police asked him to identify Beth's watch they found at the crime scene. Beth never went anywhere without wearing it. That's when he knew that this had really happened, and it wasn't just an awful dream. After notifying Beth's family of her passing, police then turned to her apartment, hoping to find clues there. Just anything that could help them find a motive or any physical evidence that could lead them to her killer. But they found nothing. Detective Jack said there didn't appear to be any sign of a struggle, and there was no evidence located inside her apartment to help move the investigation forward. No blood, no unfamiliar fingerprints. It didn't appear that anybody had rummaged through her things looking for something. Not a single clue.
After searching her apartment, police then tried to trace Beth's last known movements before her body was found in her car. She had finished working at the jewelry store around 6:30 p.m. Her brother Bruce told investigators that Beth had been dating Jesse Bromberg, her co-worker from the store, for only about 3 weeks.
Investigators paid a visit to the apartment where the 19-year-old Jesse lived with his mother. At the time, Jesse wasn't there, and his mother said that he had left the apartment for his shift at the jewelry store. Jesse's mother was shocked to learn why the detectives were there. She was stunned to hear that Beth had been murdered. She said that Beth had just been over at their apartment Saturday night. Her story is that she came home at 11 p.m. from managing the restaurant below the apartment. When she came in, Jesse and Beth had been watching a movie. Exhausted from being on her feet for her shift, she went to bed. She had trouble sleeping, and a little bit later, she asked Jesse to please turn down the volume of the TV, which he did. Early the next morning, Jesse's mother said she was awakened around 6 a.m. She heard footsteps and assumed it was Beth leaving, but instead of getting up to check for sure, she rolled over to bed and went back to sleep. Now, yes, it would be great if she got up to double check what this noise was, but she was exhausted, and let's face it, hindsight is 20/20. Of course, she wasn't assuming that later, very shortly after, Beth was going to be murdered and she would be asked questions about this. With that, she got up for the day around 8 a.m. It was clear that Beth had already left the apartment, but Jesse was still asleep in his bed. He woke up just before 10 a.m. He then showered and left for work. The detectives and Jesse's mother drove to the jewelry store where Jesse and Beth worked, but he actually wasn't there. His coworker told police that a friend of Beth's had called Jesse and told him that she'd been murdered. He abruptly left the store, visibly upset. As in any investigation, detectives were creating a timeline of Beth's last known actions and movements. The window to the timeline the murder could have taken place was becoming more and more narrow. Investigators now believed it happened between 6 and 6:30 a.m. Jesse's apartment was an 8-minute drive from where Beth's car was found. If Jesse's mother and the female eyewitness were both correct, law enforcement thought Beth must have been attacked almost immediately after leaving Jesse's apartment. The restaurant below did have surveillance cameras. However, they only covered the parking lot, so they didn't offer any help in terms of showing anyone exiting Jesse's apartment.
An anonymous caller told police about some seriously suspicious activity. There was an ex-boyfriend of Beth's that was calling the family to get information about her passing and then asking detailed questions about the police investigation. For example, he wanted to know if there were fingerprints found at the scene or if police had any suspects. This obviously raised some red flags.
Beth had called her ex-boyfriend from the jewelry store the afternoon on the day before she was found murdered. This call was confirmed by one of Beth's friends. Beth had wanted to meet up with the ex that night around 8 p.m. She also called him again from a payphone after she got off work. Investigators spoke with this ex-boyfriend who had broken up with Beth 6 months earlier. He confirmed the 2 calls from Beth, but said he had been out of town when she called. He had moved on from the relationship with Beth and now had a live-in girlfriend. Of course, we still all want to know, though, what he was doing around the time she was murdered. He was busy in Chicago picking up his girlfriend around 4 a.m. where she had worked the night shift. The 2 got home just before sunrise. He told investigators he went to sleep as soon as he got home, which was between 5:30 and 6 a.m. Now, the timeline made it possible that her ex-boyfriend did murder her, but the more police investigated him, they couldn't find a motive. His split with Beth had been amicable, and they had been working together to find their respective birth families, as he had also been adopted. There was also 0 evidence linking him to the crime scene. Now, this wasn't Beth's only ex-boyfriend. She had about 5 alone who asked to be pallbearers at her funeral, which was confirmed by her parents in a newspaper interview. Beth was memorialized and then buried in Valhalla Memorial Park in Milwaukee. She enjoyed writing and reading poetry, so her parents read a poem at her funeral. With Jesse having left the jewelry store, detectives were anxious to find and speak to him. He eventually showed up to the police station on his own accord. He told detectives that Beth arrived at his place around 8:45, where they hung out. They then later went to her car to retrieve the movie Lethal Weapon 2 and returned to his apartment to watch it around 10:30 p.m. He confirmed the rest of what his mother also said, how she asked them to turn the TV down, and then they eventually went to sleep. Yes, Jesse's story matched his mother's. However, there was one thing that it didn't match on, and that's the timing. His mom said that she heard footsteps of what she assumed was Beth leaving around 6 a.m., but Jesse says she left at 6:30. This difference of 30 minutes matters in this case because detectives were already narrowing down the timeline of when Beth could have been murdered. Interestingly enough, despite the 30-minute difference, detectives were actually more suspicious over the fact that Jesse and his mom's stories were so similar. They were similar even down to the small details. It made detectives wonder, was it an honest mistake of them providing different times, or were they coordinating their stories? Detective Spano says, quote, "That always gives us suspicions when people's statements match so closely." Jesse says he woke up around 6:30 a.m. for a moment and saw that Beth was getting ready to leave and drive home to her apartment. She said she didn't want to get caught by his mother having slept over at the apartment. Jesse was tired and went back to sleep without walking her to the door or her car.
Detectives were quick to notice that Jesse had an abrasion on the top right part of his hand and another one on one of his fingers. Detective Spano publicly commented on this, saying, "Believe me, the bells and whistles are going off when you see those kind of wounds on someone's hands that may have possibly strangled someone." So it's a new year, 2025, and you're thinking, how am I going to make this year different? How am I going to build something for myself? I'm so excited to be my own boss or see if I can turn this business idea I've been kicking around into a reality, but I really don't know how to make it happen. Well, Shopify is how you're going to make it happen, and Paige is going to tell you how.
You guys, the best time to start that business you've been dying to start is now. Shopify makes it so easy and simple for you to create your brand, open up that business, and get your first sale. Get your store up and running easily with literally thousands, and I mean thousands, of customizable templates. You don't have to do any coding or have any design skills previously to be able to do this. It's so easy. All you need is to know how to drag and drop, copy paste, baby. It's so easy. Their powerful social media tools help you connect your channels and create shoppable posts that help you sell everywhere and keep your shoppers scrolling. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business by helping you with details like shipping, taxes, payments, all from one single dashboard, allowing you to focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. Act now so that you don't regret not starting that business later. It's Q1 of 2025, baby. Let's go.
Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/murderdiaries, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/murderdiaries to start selling with Shopify today.
That's shopify.com/murderdiaries. When asked about them by detectives, Jesse became, quote, emotional about the abrasions. Then an attorney hired by his mother arrived at the police station and immediately ended the interrogation. Detectives then needed to find witnesses who could either confirm or challenge the story Jesse was telling them. The baker who worked at Jake's restaurant below Jesse's apartment arrived to work at 4:45 a.m. the morning that Beth was found. Police spoke with her and she told them that Beth's car was in the parking lot when she pulled in. She specifically remembered Beth's personalized license plate, FLRT, or flirt, 12. An hour or so later, the baker recalled hearing noises at the back door of the restaurant, which is the same door that leads to the stairs that go to the apartments. She continued going about her work and didn't go to investigate what was making the sound. However, she did think the noise was unusual for that time of day. Between 6:45 and 7 a.m., while working at the baking table, she saw Jesse's mom through a window. The baker said it was not normal to see Jesse's mom that early in the morning, especially when she worked the dinner shift the night before. Between 8:30 and 9 a.m., Jesse's mom was doing laundry in the basement. A cleaning crew remembered seeing Beth's car in the parking lot at 6 a.m. when they arrived for work. No one ever saw Beth's car leaving the parking lot, but the newspaper delivery person did not see Beth's car when they passed through the neighborhood between 6:45 and 7 delivering newspapers. Police believe that the crime likely occurred near Jake's restaurant. Detectives followed every possible angle, including looking into seeing if it was possible that someone had been stalking Beth in the days or weeks before her murder. Her memorable license plate on her car would certainly have made Beth's whereabouts easy for any stalker to follow. But investigators could not find any evidence or eyewitnesses to support a stalker theory. The female witness that had seen Beth's car being dropped off in the neighborhood where she'd been found wasn't able to identify Jesse as the driver. With little evidence, few witnesses, and no confessions, Beth's murder investigation stalled until 2008 when Detective Spano took the case on and began re-interviewing prior witnesses. No major developments came to light, although the baker did say something interesting. They told the detective that when she saw Jesse's mom doing laundry that morning, she had been washing bedding. This is a detail that had been overlooked in the original investigation. Police had noted that when they came to Jesse's apartment in the original investigation, his bed had been stripped of its sheets and comforter. Detective Spano says, "There are people out there that know what happened. When those people come forward, I think that's when the ball can get rolling again." Both of Beth's parents have now passed away. Her father, Robert, died in 2012, and her mother, Bonnie, in 2001. They are both buried next to their beloved daughter, Beth. In their lifetime, they were very clear that they wished Beth's murder could have been solved and the killer brought to justice before they passed away. Sadly, that did not happen. They were denied that sense of closure. Beth has now been gone longer than she was alive. Beth's brother said, "Beth is gone, but I won't let her go away. He's convinced that somebody still living locally is helping keep the killer's secret. He's hopeful that with the passage of time, people will seek to release the burden and give police the information they need to crack the case wide open. In recent years, Beth's brother, who is a classically trained chef and a jazz DJ still living in Milwaukee, has taken to social media and the internet to keep his younger sister's face and name out in the public, with hopes of it renewing interest in her case all these many years later. He says, quote, "I'm doing this for Beth to see that it's settled." Bruce believes the man who last saw Beth holds the answers. He never understood why Jesse never showed up to her funeral or even sent a condolence card. Instead, after Beth's death, Jesse hired an attorney. For the record, having an attorney is everybody's right, but it certainly is suspicious. However, Jesse was questioned and charged, but the charges were quickly dropped due to the lack of evidence tying him to the crime. To this day, Jesse has not ever again been named a suspect by Milwaukee police. Detective DeSev said they couldn't build a case against him. All their evidence was circumstantial. It should also be noted that Detective DeSev still keeps a photograph of Beth in his old cop notebook. He says, "I carry this in my heart." Bruce believes that the killer likely has confided in someone else who still lives locally in Milwaukee.
We're covering this case because Beth still doesn't have justice. Today, her case file sits collecting dust in the cold case unit of the Milwaukee Police Department. Cold case detective Kathy Hines said, "We continue to review this file. We have submitted items for DNA testing, interviewed old witnesses, and developed new leads. We still have a few more pieces of the puzzle to put together."
We'll leave you with this quote from Bruce. Quote, "We grew up the way you hear you're supposed to grow up. Family vacations, going to school together. I didn't think it would turn out as tragically as it did, but it's nice to look at her picture and have her smile at you." If you have any information on the murder of Beth Buege, call the Milwaukee Police Department at 414-933-4444 or call the cold case unit at 414-935-1212.
That's it for today's case coverage, but we'll be back same time, same place next week. Until then, connect with us on social media. We're everywhere at the Murder Diaries Pod. So remember,
Stay safe.
Bye.